So, God, what is the universe made of? I mean, I realize it's made up of love, right? And love is, you know, well, it is the essence of the singularity. And love, in its attenuated form, becomes light. But light cannot come into being until it penetrates the night, right? In other words, light has to have something to go into. So, the way I see it, light is an attenuated version of love that goes into the night, and then we get the photon, and then we get the electron, and then we get the atoms, and I don't know where all the neutrons and protons and those come from. Maybe there's some kind of mixture. What would you say? And before time, dear, because you have already penetrated to the understanding of the essential nature of the universe. So you understand the Trinity. And the people who stand outside of their own reality cannot understand the function of the singularity, the duality, and the Trinity. And so they are constantly rotating through the individual variations on their inspirations without ever coming to see that the one reality is God energy and God is love, because God is the consciousness of the life of pi. The life of pi is like saying that God is the circle and pi is the effort to tie God down. But you can't tie God down, so you gotta frown and say, hey, I guess it's just the way it is. I guess it's just the way it is, because pi will always lie beyond the outer reaches of our grasp, you see, and will have to be reduced to the simplicity of the consistency of the world we see. And so the people who are reduced to viewing the world around them as if they existed outside of it will never comprehend the nature of reality. But because you understand reality from the inside out and the outside in, you have the capacity to simply say, well, that's interesting today. That's interesting today. You can pick apart all the strands of reality, but until you come to the end of the rope, you see, you won't understand the singularity, and you won't understand the duality, and you won't understand the Trinity. And so you just keep playing with it, don't you? You just keep playing with it and saying, hey, I guess I'll stay where I can be free of anxiety. So for you, Stephanie, whenever you come to me and we talk, you see, you say, it's okay, because you already know that I go wherever you go and you go with me in order to be the ones who love humanity. And so we love humanity and we love the way they say, Hey, we can't figure it out today. Hey, all we know is that the deeper we go, the deeper it gets. And we say, of course, my dear, because that's the life of pi, is that you'll never figure out why. There is no end to pi, because the more you feed yourself from the pie of life you see, the more you find to intrigue you into a trust on being real, you see, because the reality is the ability to trust on the wild card, you see. The wild card is the ability to know that you will never, ever figure it out. You will never figure it out. And the way that you explain that is that the moment you think you understand something, what you understood has changed because the fact that you understand it has changed it, you see, because it is a synergy. It is you and you are it and you're in it and it's in you. And what the heck are you going to do when you come to the end of the rope? And so when you come to the end of the rope, which you do periodically, especially when you talk to Tobias and others, it will happen frequently. And you both laugh and you say, well, we've come to the end of the rope, you see. And so there's nothing to do but laugh and say, have a good day, have a good day. And then you go back and play some more. And at the end of the day, you just say, what a good day it is, what a good day it is. I think I'll take a rest and dream of the best world I know. And when I awaken, you see, I will say, hey, it's a new day, it's a new day to play at trying to figure out reality, which we will never figure out, which is kind of cool because that means that we will be the fool again and again and again. And in the end, we will not be the tool of the aristocracy because we trust on being the fool, you see. And it's kind of hard to capture the ones who trust on the end of the rope because they just say, it's okay if you play that way, but eventually you'll come to the end of the rope, you see. And then you'll say, well, what a fool was I. And then you'll stick in your thumb and pull out a plum and say, have a good day, have a good day, because a plum is the trust on reality. Yep. So I have to say, I'm really glad to have you, God, to talk to. And of course, Tobias and others that have a clearer picture of what the universe is made of. But I enjoy talking to you because we seem to see eye to eye. We see alike. And I don't always know how to handle a particular situation, and you'll give me help, and I don't understand things, and you help me to see because you're the one that is God of the universe and you have the big point of view. But the fact that we're a synergy, I guess, makes sense that I'm in you and you are in me, and we're in the world and the world is in us. And therefore, in the end, we find that point at which we agree. So we agree to agree and we don't agree to disagree. Because if we agree to disagree, that's like saying that we will never ever come to the end of the rope. We will never ever come to the end of the rope and realize that we're at the end of the rope. Therefore, there's nothing to do but go back again into the world and play. That is true. That me and you are the ones who know that we can do whatever we want to do, but we are limited on doing what we want to do by the fact that we have to do it together, you see. You and I have to do it together because we are tied together in the duality, and you are tied to everyone else in the Trinity, and that is the consciousness of God, you see. The consciousness of God is to be free of anything that can pull it down. There's nothing that can pull down the consciousness of God. Right. There's no devil, no opposition to God. But if there were a devil, it would have to be a synergy with God, right? Impossible there because the devil is the inner conflict that people feel when they can't understand that they're a part of me and I'm a part of them. So they get a lot of conflict inside. Right. And so, I'm saying right because we do seem to understand these things in the same way, or I understand them. I didn't always. But gradually through my lifetime, I came to understand things in a way that you can validate. So it's been a lifelong process, and maybe at the beginning I understood it because you're a baby and you understand these things, and then you lose that understanding because people are giving you a hard time. And then you come back to it and you say, oh, cool, God is here. I remember you. And then you say, I remember you, my dear. So we get this connection back, which is fun. It's always fun. It's like it's playing in the fields of the Lord, of course. That's my words for being free and childlike and simple. Simple in your ability to just enjoy the day and to not be worried about the way others play. And so I have a question, but it's hard. I am taking a moment to formulate it. So there's lots of things you help me with, and I guess I help you too because you can talk to me and tell me what you want me to do, and I can talk to you and say, I don't understand this, God. Could you help me out with this problem I'm having? And you help me out. And sometimes you tell me to do things that I would never, well, quite frequently tell me to do things that I never thought to do. And it seems to move things along. That's the way I can say it. It moves things along. And so I'm formulating my question still. Give me a moment. If the whole of human consciousness were to come back into union with you, so to speak, or with the Trinity, and understand that when you get to the end of the rope, you get to the end of the rope, and then you just begin over again because you've untangled everything and there's nothing left to untangle. And so you're kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. We can't find an ultimate answer because there is no answer when you've gotten to this point and you start over again. And so love is the essence, which I'm not the first one to have figured that out in my world. But of course, it's a fractal and it's refracting all the time. So it's hard to say, if it all is going on today, what really preceded what. Just depends upon your point of view, I guess. But what I want to say to you is that is there some point when I will experience the fact that the totality of consciousness has accepted the Trinity and has accepted the fact that the answer is there is no answer, and that when you get to the end of the rope, there's just no point anymore. You're safe because you don't have to keep trying to find that damn answer that's evading you because it's not there. You can't keep looking for something that's not there. And then you just go back to the beginning, keep working it. So you can have pi to whatever degree you want, to whatever decimal point that you want to have pi, you can just cut it off there and live your life as if that were the bottom line, right? And for those people who want to push the decimal out further, they can, and they will live life in a finer form of reality, you might say, or consciousness, if that's a good example to make. So at some point, maybe it's just the decimal point that you push it to. Maybe that's the best consciousness can do. in terms of the mainstream is to agree on a decimal point, and they will work. It's 3.14 or whatever the numbers are. I can't remember the numbers after that. It will be where they put the decimal point, or where they to which degree they run it all out in their ability to interpret reality. So they will interpret it according to the decimal point where they cut it off. And they say, I'm not going to think any deeper than this. I'm not going to think any deeper than this. This is as far as I can go. And some people can push it out further and go further. And the further they push it out, the more they push themselves to the end point on the um, bell curve. So at the leading edge, of course, you don't have any company. And the closer you get to it, the less company you have who can relate to you in the same way, because they're willing to push it out to a finer degree than the bulk of humanity is. So I guess what I'm saying here is it's just another way to express the fact that we're always growing, we're always changing. Pi has no end, so there is no worry that we're going to come to an end. So we're not going to come to an end there. But on the other hand, and so that's kind of like nothing. That's kind of like untangling the rope till you run out of rope, and then there's nothing, because there's no end and there's no beginning. There's nothing. It just is at whatever point that you choose to call it, wherever you are on the rope. That's where you hang, and that's where you deal with the entwined strands of that rope. And they may be, as you get to the end of the rope and you've untangled all those strands, there's no more rope eventually to untangle. And so you just wind them up again in a new way and go start again, right? Yes, that's a good way to say it. You just wind them up again and start again. But every time you wind those strands again to form the rope, you do so with a little more clarity and a little more fundamental understanding of reality. So you still know that in the end, there's nothing to see, because you've come to the end of the rope, you see? And so you accept the reality that the singularity has no strands. There are no strands in the singularity. There are no strands in love, you see. Love is the totality of itself, you see. And therefore, you've come to the end of the rope when you come to the fundamental reality of love. And therefore, you don't judge others, and you don't even realize there's anything to judge. You're just there without any care. And you smile and say, have a nice day, because that's what you do when you're through untangling the rope. You have nothing more to do. And so you wind the rope up again, the strands, and you say, well, let's play again. Only this time when you play, you see you've pushed the decimal point out, or rather, you have pushed the decimal places out to a finer degree, so that when you come down the rope, you have the ability to see things that others don't see if they haven't followed your trajectory. And there may be others who see it to a finer degree than you, but it doesn't matter if they do, because that's not the rope that you're following. The rope that you're following is the one that was wound up at a certain decimal place, and therefore everything you see will be to the degree that you understand the makeup of the rope, you see. And this will continue through eternity. Right. Okay, get it, I think. Thank you again. Bye bye. Bye, my dear. And give me some time and I will appear in the mirror in a new way because I will figure out how to help you to discern a new point of view that will let you help me help you to push humanity to a further degree of reciprocity as they learn to figure out who they are. Because every time they add a decimal place to the way they define pi, they get a little closer to reality, you see. Right. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye. Love you. I love you too, my dear. And I will talk to you through the world you see because I'll be in every aspect of it and you will be in every aspect of me. Yeah. The magical, mythical, mystical carpet ride. Indeed.